Characters are the heart of any story. They drive the narrative, engage readers, and make a story unforgettable. But creating deep, believable characters takes skill. That's where AI can help, offering instant ideas for traits, backstories, and quirks to enrich your cast. If you are new to my channel, I'm Jonas Martin, author of the Defenders of Asgard series. In this video, we'll discuss how to craft memorable character appearances. The power of character descriptions. A well-crafted description brings a character to life. Instead of listing traits, focus on key details that make them stand out. For example, J.K. Rowling describes Hagrid as a giant with hands the size of dustbin lids and boots like baby dolphins. That's visual storytelling. Instead of saying, he was tall with brown hair and blue eyes, try, he towered over me, his piercing blue eyes cutting through the dim light. A few vivid brushstrokes make a lasting impression. Essential questions for character descriptions. What do they look like? Scars, tattoos, cybernetic implants? How do they move? Slumped shoulders or confident strides? How do they eat? Sloppy bites or delicate nibbles? How do they speak? A nervous stutter or a sharp, commanding tone? Examples of vivid descriptions. If personality is an unbroken series of successful gestures, then there was something gorgeous about him, some heightened sensitivity to the promises of life, as if he were related to one of those intricate machines that register earthquakes 10,000 miles away. The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. In height, he was rather over 6 feet, and so excessively lean that he seemed to be considerably taller. His eyes were sharp and piercing, and his thin, hawk-like nose gave his whole expression an air of alertness and decision. His chin, too, had the prominence and squareness which mark the man of determination. A Study in Scarlet by Arthur Conan Doyle. The imp's head was too large for his body, with a brute squashed-in face beneath a swollen shelf of brow. One green eye and one black one peered out from under a lank fall of hair so blond it seemed white. His legs were twisted, and he walked with a rolling, swaying stride that made it seem as if he were about to topple over at any moment. A Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin. Tips for creating memorable characters. Give distinctive traits, scars, tattoos, or a signature quirk. Engage the senses. Let readers see, hear, smell, and feel your character. Avoid cliches. Break the mold instead of using tired tropes. Show, don't tell. Reveal personality through actions and dialogue. Be selective. Only include details that matter to the story. AI-powered character prompts. Need help? Ask AI for detailed character descriptions. The more context you give, the better the results. Try prompts like, describe a female protagonist in a space opera. List detailed appearances for male protagonists in a dystopian fantasy. Create a female teen protagonist in a post-apocalyptic zombie story. An advanced character appearance prompt. Craft a detailed visual description of an original teen female protagonist for a post-apocalyptic zombie story. Avoid stereotypical survivor tropes. Give her a distinctive, unconventional look that immediately suggests a compelling personal history. Consider her hairstyle and color, e.g., asymmetrical, colorful streaks, shaved sides, unusual dyes. Facial features, e.g., scars, piercings, freckles, tattoos, birthmarks, distinctive makeup or face paint. Eyes, unusual color combinations, expressions reflecting personality or inner struggles, signs of past injury or mutation. Clothing, unique materials or fabrics, layers suggesting scavenging or adaptation to the environment, mismatched or culturally specific garments. Accessories and jewelry, symbolic items, keepsakes, homemade adornments. Skin tone and condition, visible injuries, signs of environmental effects, tattoos or tribal markings. Body posture and physique, distinctive stance or physical quirks, hinting at emotional burdens or unusual skills. Weapons, uncommon or improvised weapons reflecting her personality or ingenuity. Nothing stereotypical like baseball bats or machetes. Belongings carrier. Unique, resourceful containers such as repurposed objects, handcrafted items, or culturally meaningful vessels. Include sensory details, texture, scent, color, sound of accessories or clothing, and use a descriptive style rich in imagery, emphasizing individuality and avoiding cliches. Show rather than tell. Example AI-generated character description. Vesper, 17, moves like she belongs to the wreckage. Fluid, soundless, an extension of the ruins that stretch behind her. She's neither predator nor prey, but something in between, forgotten in the space between survival and extinction. Her hair, a wild, uneven cascade of obsidian black, falls past her shoulders, but only on one side. The other is shaved close, revealing the intricate lines of a brand burned into her temple long ago. A sigil she doesn't understand, or refuses to. A few strands of silver-white thread through the dark like lightning in a storm, remnants of an old chemical fire that nearly stole her life. When the wind picks up, her hair smells like charcoal and iron, tinged with the faintest trace of something herbal. Rosemary, maybe, scavenged and tucked behind her ear in a rare moment of indulgence. Her face is a contradiction of sharp lines and soft ghosts of what once was. It has high cheekbones and a strong jaw, the kind of face sculpted not by genetics, but by hardship. A diagonal scar cuts from her left temple to the corner of her lip, fine and pale, as if someone once tried to erase her. Her skin is a deep, sun-worn bronze, kissed by years of exposure, but streaked with faint silvery marks of past burns along her forearms and the bridge of her nose. A single black tattoo stretches from her collarbone to just below her ear, a thin, spiraling design that resembles barbed wire, but closer. It's something older, something ritualistic. Her lips are darkened naturally, almost bruised in color and perpetually chapped from the cold. When she smiles, it's a sharp, fleeting thing, like a blade catching the light before disappearing into shadow. One eye is a deep, liquid brown, so dark it almost swallows the light. The other is unnatural, a milky shade of amber flecked with gold, like resin trapping something ancient inside. It glows faintly in the dark, a side effect of whatever chemical exposure took her sight in that eye. She keeps her hair partially covering it, but when she tilts her head just right, the glint of it is unmistakable, unnerving. Some say it sees things beyond the living. She doesn't confirm or deny it. Her clothing is a scavenger's tapestry, layered and stitched together like a story that doesn't quite add up. A patched-up bomber jacket, once navy blue, now fades into an indeterminate shade of dusk. The sleeves are lined with pockets meant for shotgun shells, but she keeps dried herbs in them instead. Lavender, mint, sage, small things to remind her of what the world used to be. Beneath is a black, sleeveless compression top worn smooth with age, and the fabric is frayed along the seams. One pant leg is cargo fabric, reinforced with metal plates at the shin. The other is hand-wrapped in dark silk, layered so that it allows for swift movement but is tight enough not to get caught in debris. A woven red sash loops around her waist, knotted twice at her hip, ends trailing slightly. Some say it's ceremonial. She says it's just practical. Her boots don't match. One is a traditional Mongolian riding boot, its leather cracked but sturdy, repurposed from a museum she once camped in. The other is a laceless combat boot, duct-taped along the sides where the stitching failed. They make her walk slightly uneven, but she's learned to use it to her advantage. Every weight shift unpredictable. A thin chain necklace from which hangs a single tarnished coin, an old world currency she refuses to part with. A bracelet of bird bones, small and delicate, bound together with leather cord. They clatter faintly when she moves, like wind chimes in a dead city. Fingertips stained with ink, as if she's still trying to write something down and remember. Vesper stands with the tension that suggests she's always halfway to bolting, weight balanced on the balls of her feet, never at rest. She has a deliberate stillness, though, like a coiled viper deciding whether to strike. Her frame is sinewy, not built for brute force, but for endurance. Her muscles are honed from scaling broken buildings, from running when fighting wasn't an option. She carries old wounds in the way she moves, her right shoulder slightly stiff, her left wrist wrapped in strips of black cloth that hide the raised remnants of something jagged. Her weapons aren't loud. She isn't one for rifles or swinging blunt instruments. She prefers precision, the quiet kill. A spike-tipped chain wrapped around her forearm, its links rusted but still lethal. She unwinds it in a single flick of her wrist, using it like a whip, a snare, or a garrote. The sound it makes in the air is a whisper, a promise of pain. A curved blade, once a ceremonial sickle, the kind used in ancient harvest rites. She sharpened it against stone, turning it into something far less symbolic. A brass knuckle with retractable needles, scavenged from an old fighting ring. When she clenches her fist, the needles slide out, coated in something bitter-smelling, something meant to linger in a wound. A pocket full of glass marbles, their surfaces filed down into jagged edges, meant to be thrown underfoot. Her pack is unconventional. A repurposed music case meant for a violin, now reinforced with metal strips along the edges. It hangs diagonally across her back, the inside lined with fur scraps for insulation to dampen the noise from her belongings. A small metal canteen, wrapped in cloth to keep from clanking against her weapons. The water inside always smells faintly of pine. A folded cloth map, annotated in tiny, meticulous handwriting. A crumpled scrap of paper with faded ink reading, "Not all ghosts are dead." A half-eaten bar of dark chocolate, long expired, but still hoarded. A handmade ceramic bowl scavenged from a destroyed temple, painted in fading gold leaf. She drinks from it at night, as if it makes a difference. She doesn't look like a survivor. She looks like something that was meant to die and refused. Every part of her, from how she carries her mismatched weapons to the scent of iron and sage that lingers in her wake, speaks of a girl who was never meant to see this far into the world's collapse, but did. And now? Now she walks with ghosts at her back, waiting for whatever comes next. Want more examples? Ask AI for descriptions from literature. Give me great YA character descriptions. List striking sci-fi character descriptions. Show me examples of memorable sleuths in mystery fiction. Writing exercise. Too much information. Want to sharpen your skills? Try writing a terrible description, packed with excessive details. Example: Hagrid was a big guy, gigantic, I mean like super big, exactly the same height as a 21.5-foot willow in red, brown, yellow, orange, and moldy green fall colors. He had long hair, at least 3 foot and 3/5 inches in the back, and the fringe was uneven like a dull lumberjack saw, or maybe a carpenter's panel saw, the kind you can play music on, and the beard had 2004 sticky hairs, as if combed with a week-old fishbone picked from a sun-pounded garbage heap dipped in crude oil and was 1 foot 4 inches shorter than the hair and tangled like a dust bunny in a bird's nest. The giant wore a coat made of scratched and worn animal hide. Was it elephant skin? Rhino? No, it was buffalo for sure, with exactly 5 patches of varying sizes, with grease, apple cider, ketchup, and ice cream stains. He was enormous, as wide as a half-giant can be, no more, and his feet were the size of a 6.5-year child in a flowery summer dress with lace and a bow in her sandy hair reaching 2 1/3 inches below her shoulders. Hagrid was kind of scary looking, but I guess he was supposed to be a good guy or something. By exaggerating details, you'll see what not to do, making your real description stronger. Final thoughts. Use AI as a creative tool, not a replacement for imagination. Let it spark ideas, refine your descriptions, and help craft characters that jump off the page. Don't forget to download the time-saving and helpful AI prompts using the link in the description.